Hey, what's up? First, English isn't my first language, okay? And right now I've been switching between Spanish, Japanese, Portuguese, Italian, and English. So I haven't been using a lot English. I haven't been speaking English, okay? So I have an accent. And that's another thing that I would say maybe something about it like in the video. But I wanted to talk about the um, fighting games have a design problem, okay? I made like 4 videos from 2 hours, two of them, 1 hour, one of them, and I think that one was 30 minutes, okay? And they are in Spanish, so I want to speak in English this time because I think I think you don't really understand the problem. First of all, you are seeing the problem like it's just one market, okay? But at the same, you see the problem just from the perspective of one specific market. You don't see it like, for example, in Japan. You don't see it in Europe. You don't see it, for example, in Mexico, in Colombia, in Argentina, in Brazil. You just see it like in a very specific market. Even that the essay was wrote from, I think, an Australian, because you are seeing it just as someone who plays just competitive. My problem with your essay and with all of what a lot of channels are talking about this is you just see this from what perspective? The competitive one, and not just the competitive, the people who made channels or careers about just talking about the competitive of fighting games. And if you yourself say that this is a niche, and when I say a niche, is the fighting games are a niche. Imagine being the niche of a niche, because the competitive like scene is not is not even like the 40 to 50% of the people who buys this genre. And that's the problem that I have with all of this. Because all what this essay is like pushing is putting arguments that the counterpoints of that arguments are even in the same essay. But at the same time, is making propositions from the same people that have been making those propositions that right now are in the freaking games. But even worse is that all of you FGC have these channels about competitive, you know? And the point of all of them is how we can get people to the FGC. And you ask, and again, for me, this is like this is why it's going to fail. You are asking yourselves. You're asking yourselves, the competitive people, how we can get people in here, rather than asking yourself, why don't you ask to the people who want you to get them in? You're asking, oh, why the genre hasn't grow, for example. But why you ask yourselves? Why don't you ask to the people who doesn't play those games? Hey, why you don't play these games? But For example, check the essay. Okay? Check the essay. In the final words where, what do you think about this? So at the end, the essay is not from, like, again, like asking to those people who doesn't play these games, but who play these games, how they can bring some other people, rather than, hey, let us hear from you, what do you want from the fighting games. No, in a very condescending way, you are asking them to, no, let us let us answer the, our own questions, and you should accept it. You should buy it. You should consume. That's not how it works. That's why this, for example, I'm gonna to put it this way. In the essay, it says that the FGC is in growing. Brother, dude, whoever is watching this, isn't freaking Evo getting bigger like every freaking year? Isn't CEO getting bigger every freaking year? Isn't Frosty Faustings getting bigger every freaking year? Evo is having, it was just Japan and Las Vegas, right? Now is France, and there is another one, right? So now, rather than having two Evos, they are four, right? So the FGC isn't growing, brother. I think that this essay, this whole problem, comes more from, again, a very specific group that I think it is a purely competitive, or that is just freaking streaming on making a word that I don't like two words: community and content. Okay, just to put it that way, because that thing is, you are part of the community, yeah, but what I say, they don't care about it, because what community means for these people is, oh, you're from the community, so you should speak like this, you should think like this, you should play like this, you should play this. And that's the thing that this, at least 2 to 3 years, have been like feeling for a lot of people. And that's why, for example, that's why people doesn't play competitive, and that's one reason. But you don't want to ask them why. You ask yourselves, and you answer yourselves. And you are afraid to make that questions, because you are don't going to like the answers, because you already made the questions in 2017, 16, 18. And it's very ironic that those years that developers and the whole FGC community made questions about the casuals and the other people that don't play fighting games. What do you want? And they began to hear it. That's when this freaking thing went every time bigger and bigger and bigger. I just gave one specific like response, okay? There are more, like for example, and this is a very personal. Okay, do you know why doesn't like why people doesn't care about competitive or doesn't care about fighting games? Oh, it's because the people are lazy. Or another way to be condescending is saying that people are lazy. You don't know him. You don't know them. Him, her, whatever. You don't know them. And you are already pointing them to, oh, it's because this Gen Z is lazy. Is that, dude, you don't even know what their lives are. You don't even know if even is the Gen Z. You are pointing all of this to the Gen Z, while, for example, you don't think that, again, you are very pointing to a very specific like market. Oh, I just want the Gen Z. Really? So again, you're asking of why the Gen race isn't booming like every other genre. Let me tell you something. Fighting games is something very special because they are selling kinda good. They are selling good. What do you want? I wanted to be very specific. What do you really want? Okay? Because, for example, you don't know if I'm someone who has to work from 7 p.m. or I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna change a little bit that like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and I don't have time, or I just have 1 hour time, and I'm going to put and again, this is very personal, and it's happened to me, but in university, in college. I was trying to learn Tekken 7. I was freaking lazy because I just had 1 hour in the day to try to play Tekken, to be in practice, to just get to online, to even press a freaking input. And then you point to the people who doesn't play it and condescendingly say you are freaking lazy. You don't have the courage. You don't have. The guy put a word like I think it was, you don't have like the temple. It wasn't like a temple. It was like a similar word about temper, I think. So you want me 2 freaking years to have the temperament, for example. I think that was the word. To be in 1 hour going online, practically suffer online, just to someone to freaking win in the competitive, just because I wanted to test something. And I should just accept that. Should I accept that every freaking message that I got because I lose? Because I was garbage with worse words? And not just that, because for example I am Mexican, and because I have my account to again, it says that I am from Mexico, that I live in Mexico. You get messages about because I'm just from Mexico. I don't have the temperament. Yeah, brother. Yeah. That's my problem. I don't have the temperament. Do you? I'm gonna say it like this way. Do you know why people still plays, for example, Street Fighter 6? I'm gonna put it in this specific way. It's because single player. It's because single player. It's because arcade. They don't care about competitive. Because why? Because they wanted to have fun with his friends. Playing it in the same couch, for example. Or playing just the single player. Oh, but the single player should teach you so you can go to competitive. Says who? The ones from the competitive. The ones who are showing their true face. That they just want the casual player to play competitive like a freaking lamp. With the excuses of, oh, you can get good, you can get whatever. Maybe. But that is worth it? I can say it, but at the same time, you can say it. And the essay and all of these channels of the FGC are speaking on behalf of everyone, but just taking in consideration the competitive. That's why, let me tell you something. See your like dislike ratios in your videos. See your like and dislike ratios. You want, for example, another answers from the people, for example. I'm gonna make it again personal. I play KOF and I had the same freaking response if I win or either if I lose. Usually more from the USA, for example. If I win, I get a message about, oh, you're freaking Mexican, you whatever. You should be banned because whatever. If I lose, oh, you're the Mexican. You wanna know why the people, for example, from there and another places don't want to play freaking fighting games? It's because you. It's because what you call community is just the competitive. It's not the whole people that likes that, again, the fighting games. And that doesn't mean that they play them. But you wanted to make them play them. But what if you can't? Because you can't. There are people who, for example, watched Call of Duty and they didn't play it. And this is like a very good example, at least I think. Maximilian, dude, you have people from the FGC watching him playing Final Fantasy. And they are people who, hey, I'm here because the fighting games, but I'm watching him playing another thing. Does that are going to make them play it? I can say it no, but at the same time you can say it yeah. And that's the thing that all the freaking essay and all these freaking channels are speaking about. They are not taking the other answer. They are just saying, this is going to happen. This is going to make them play it. Yeah, this is going to work. But they don't ask you. They are just, I'm here because this. Maybe I'm going to play it. Maybe I'm not. and you are so afraid of making that question, because what you are really wanted to make is you are inside of a bubble and you can see another perspectives, that people maybe don't want the games to just be competitive like you live the competitive. They don't want to go to freaking Evo. Worse, for example, I have a friend that have played in COF, actually, in Evo. He won, I think it was third one time in COF 15 in Frosty Faustings. And one of the worst thing was they treat us like shit. First, we need to get the visas, okay? And then the price tickets, and again the tickets. So the price of the ticket of just entering the tournament, the flights, all of those things that you don't think in consideration, but you want to the people to just enter in competitive. And that's the true core of competitive. But hey, we don't want to put them like instantly in Evo. The same thing is online. And you know a very I think I saw a video with IDOM talking about this, about, for example, how I'm gonna to add to the table something. He was talking, I think it was Brian F, about the pay-per-view of the Capcom Cup, and the theme of Japan, acting about the mods, acting about how the USA are being mocked, for example, in Japan, for not being like willing to pay $40 to even 10 freaking dollars, and saying that it's not about the money, it's about the core values. And I wanted to ask, what are those core values? And IDOM actually said it like, brother, they have another perspective about this. And people are mocking him. Like, dudes, brothers, are you really not seeing what are you doing? You are just seeing all of this from one freaking perspective. You know, the worst thing about this is that when the people from the FGC, and I'm gonna say it like with this word, from a very competitive like core of the FGC, designs a freaking game, it's no go, like it doesn't go well. People mock, for example, Street Fighter 5. It was made for that FGC. It was made the core gameplay for the FGC. It was made for freaking esports. The thing that you are pushing it to a freaking limit that is destroying the thing that you say that you really like. But you are selling the freaking soul of this for money. And all of these channels talking about this, it seems like that. They don't freaking want another people to enjoy what they are saying that they like. Oh, I want people to like the games or the genre that I like because I really like it. Okay, but that doesn't freaking mean that they are going to go to freaking competitive, that they are going to consume your content, your community, your channels, because that seems more that what you are asking for is to people to buy these things or to watch your freaking content. And if I put it that way, what does that sound? Entitlement. I haven't heard this. Like even the freaking Call of Duty streamers have stopped because they asked like, "Oh, Call of Duty needs to change this, need to change that, need to do this, need to make this. They need to add this." Just because they wanted to make what? Their freaking content. And this seems to be the same. Because all of you don't ask the players. You ask and then you answer your same questions. And what happened to Call of Duty? Because all of them took control. What happened, for example, when a game, people from the full competitive take full control? A lot of the times, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. And when it when it ends well, it seems that all is okay. But when the dust is settled, what happens? People go out because they, for example, are all of this like esport. It was a freaking trend, and it crashed out. And the thing about this trend, for example, is about you made them believe, and then they didn't correspond to them. Because you see how much, like for example, groups of esports are laying off everybody. And then the worst thing is that they blame the casual player because they don't jump to competitive. Again, in a condescending way of you should be. And if you don't know what the good thing is. Oh, but hey, for example, Tekken 8 or Mortal Kombat 1. So, if casuals want a freaking game that has this, and whatever and this, why they didn't bought, for example, Tekken 8? Why the sales of Tekken 8 stagnate? Why Mortal Kombat 1 sales stagnate? Well, at the same time, it's like Tekken 7, for example, sold really good, not at the beginning. it was a slow burn. And after a lot of discounts and after a lot of characters, they began to sell more. And I think Tekken 7 is one of the most, if not the most, sold in the franchise. I don't remember the sales figures about the Tekken 3. And you know why, for example, why people doesn't want to buy Tekken 8? You say, oh, I wanted to buy Tekken 8. Then go to YouTube and then see a lot of videos about Tekken 8 is trash. Tekken 8 is trash. They need to change this. They need to change that. They need to change whatever. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna to buy this game. I say that game like that game. Again, I'm switching between Spanish, Japanese, and so I have accent. Okay. Oh, so this game is trash. I'm not gonna buy it. And I'm not saying like, so what I you're telling is to just speak good about the game. No. You know what? You should be explaining why do you like the game, sharing your opinions, but at the same time, you before had, for example, videos in Street Fighter 4, even the fifth one, even for example, Guilty Gear, of people explaining the combos, of how the things works, and now, for example, in a specific way of Tekken, is just people. Oh, you can connect this, you can connect that. How do you want to make people enter if the only thing that they hear is just this freaking shit? This is fucking shit. They don't even see the game. They don't even see the base of the game. They just hear it's trash. Oh, but Mortal Kombat is the same. The game is freaking trash. And at the same time, it was expensive. For example, people waited. And in the case of the DLC of Mortal Kombat 1, they freaking waited. But you know what? Mortal Kombat sold more than Tekken 8. Even, again, Mortal Kombat 11 was the most sold from the franchise. Tekken 7, again, I think it was the most sold in the franchise. And in the essay, they say like in that moment, it was like the dark ages of fighting games. But they were selling a lot. Yeah, but they weren't like playing in competitive, in online. You can control that. You wanted to freaking control the people to just go and play competitive. It's like I say, like, oh, well, okay, I want you to eat something, but I don't want it. You need to eat this. And that's the thing that a lot of people are watching these freaking channels, these freaking essays, or these channels that are speaking and talking about this essay. They feel that way. They really feel that way. I bought Mortal Kombat 1, the definitive edition, I think it's called. And I've been having fun. Ask me how much, and I'm gonna say this, ask me in the comments how much I've been playing online. Ask the casual players what are they playing and why are they playing, not yourself. Because the only thing that you are showing to the people, to, to that FGC, is that you are a freaking entitled. Making the lobbies have an skin, it's not going to fix this. Making temples, okay, as lobbies in fighting games are not going to fix this. Making a lot of customizations is not going to fix this. I have a friend that he tried Tekken 7 and he really loved him, the game, and he played a little bit competitive and he just played, for example, arcade, and I played with him, but he left the freaking online game. He just played arcade, and if he's online with me and with another friend. You know why he doesn't like Tekken 8? Rather than the core freaking gameplay, is because the full, or kinda like a full customization that you can have with the character. Because he can't predict. He can't freaking predict what is going to do someone else. And he say, well, it's like the same problem with Call of Duty. I can't freaking see the enemy. How can I take my decision if I can see the enemy? Like, for example, in Battlefield 2042 or whatever it's called, was too the same problem. And he had problems with that. But more customization is okay. Let's freaking do that. Let's let's just make the characters that is what at the same time say that it is what, for example, people are whining about the movie Mortal Kombat 2 because they like the freaking characters a lot, because they know how they freaking look. That's why there is a lot of bad comments about the Street Fighter movie, because those are not the characters that I love. But at the same time, in the freaking essay is asking about customization. So in the end, that's not the character anymore. Yeah, it's kinda like your character. But if we are like that, why, for example, then you don't see that the Street Fighter 6 you can make your freaking avatar and you can use a combination of whatever your characters like? Oh, we forgot that. We forgot that freaking Street Fighter 6 is the freaking enemy. Because that's what it seems in the freaking essay. But I don't know. The first thing that I think people is going to comment about this is my freaking accent. And that's the worst thing about this. That people are not willing to hear. And they are going to criticize whatever. What freaking ever. Just to dismiss other comments that they don't share the same opinions that them. But hey, you all say that you really love fighting games, and that's why you are doing that, right? I'm gonna to put quickly a tin foil in my head. I forget my hat. It's 3 a.m. Another thing that I feel with all of this is that it seems more about the failure of 2xKO. And a lot of these channels have ties with people in 2xKO. And it's not because it was free to play. It's not because it was the core gameplay. Maybe it was the marketing, but it wasn't because it wasn't marketed in a good way. It was because it wasn't marketed at all. People didn't knew that thing came out. And when they saw that it came out, they tried it. And the first thing that they were greeted was, make a Riot account. And a lot of people said, I don't want a freaking Riot account. Imagine, for example, when Helldivers 2 was released in Steam, people got mad because people didn't want to make a PSN account. Well, people don't want to make a Riot account. People then made an account and then saw the prices and then saw that they can get characters if they play online. Yeah, but you know what you are going to ask me this is to put a lot of time in the game just to try to get a freaking character that I can't get because you have more probabilities to get someone from these content creators, streamers, and whatever that is going to kick your freaking ass. And that's what people say, I'm not going to play this thing because it's pushing me to play something that I don't want. And that's the thing. What I believe is why that essay was written. Because I feel it's a lot of envy about why Street Fighter is so popular still, but why 2xKO failed? Why the sales of Tekken 8 stagnated? Even that they are not all, but they are making changes that all of these people asked. Why is not selling? Do you know what? Another thing that this is like the end of the video. The essay says, "Oh, the free-to-play way is not the free-to-play like business model is not good for this. What about Grand Blue versus? Isn't that game went from free to play and then you can buy it like the game, but you have like a free to play version, and then the game really like sold in a good quantity from what they have thought could sell. So sale, for example. They didn't even thought that they could have a second DLC years, right? So why the free-to-play model worketh there? Why, for example, Guilty Gear Strive was the first own Arc System Works game to surpass 1 million units sold. And they I think they they passed the 3 million right now. And again, it was the first own Arc System Works. Yeah, you have Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but it was made by the Arc System Works. But in the end, Strive was the first own Arc System Works game that surpassed 1 million. Not just that the Guilty Gear franchise, it was the whole franchises of Arc System Works. It was the first one. Why that game grew? Why, for example, Dragon Ball Fighter Z had 10 million sales? Why, for example, even Street Fighter 7 passed the 7 million? Why Street Fighter 6 right now has 6 millions? Why, for example, even right now Mortal Kombat 1 is making a sales comeback? I'm not saying like the game is having like a comeback. I'm saying like its sales, it's having a comeback. The problem is not about the industry. The problem is about a specific product. But you don't have, I don't know if it's something, but I think that you don't see that a lot of the problems that you point out, it's to XKO and Tekken 8. And hey, all of you even forgot about Fatal Fury. And that game was nice. Is nice. But hey, you do you.